Ted is a figure in a variety of topics, including interfaces. He's invented many clever inventions and has taught at Carnegie Mellon, at MIT. He's been a researcher at IBM and at Carnegie Mellon West Coast. And I recently learned that someone taking an interface course at Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, Ted Selker is a topic in their course. So he's already a subject of study as well as a studier himself. And maybe you could introduce Shama since you know her.
Sure. Today's topic won't be so much my inventions or considerate systems research, but it will be about some collaboration that I do with Shama Hoque. Shama was a student of mine, a star student at Carnegie Mellon, 2012-13, I believe. And she was a research assistant for me, and that's how I got to know her. And over the years, we've just been doing more and more work together. Shama made a big point. She had work here when she finished, but she wanted to go home and think about how to create a technology creation community in Dhaka, Bangladesh. And that's what she's been working on ever since. She's an author. She's written a couple of books. She's taught courses at universities in Bangladesh on and off ever since. And she drives a team of, I think at the moment there are 13 people, 13 mouths that depend on her feeding him. And they're all technical people, all working on creating applications for clients. And what you're going to see today is maybe 50% maximum of her work. It won't show it'll a lot. We're going to focus a little bit, maybe too much on how we collaborate, as opposed to what you will find hopefully interesting, which is ways you can collaborate with us, bringing your problems and even solutions that you need created to us to be creative on, and also to turn into working systems. So I think that's enough. The only thing else I want to say about Shama is that she enjoys any puzzle as well as programming. So
thank you for that introduction, and that quite accurately covers what we've been doing, where it started. I'll cover a bit more of that to highlight what the journey has been like and what it took to set up that technology environment, like where people like me, who are from a very different world, I would say, from what you're used to, be able to contribute work and communicate at a level that was easy to not just translate boundaries, but also help them grow while contributing to innovation. So to kick off, we'll sort of go over how we'll try to cover this topic throughout this talk. So about creating a technology consulting culture. It starts with my journey at CMU. So we'll cover a bit of that, how I took the techniques and tools that I learned there and worked on projects with TED and also other projects, and took that back home and set some guidelines for myself and also what I want to build and define what I wanted to do. Then went out there to build the company. How I did that, some of the learnings that might be parallels for a lot of you, might be surprising to a lot of you that I had to do that, these things from the basic, but I hope it will show you that it's possible to, doesn't matter if you're from a different culture, to replicate culture of innovation anywhere. Then we'll talk about the other projects that we worked on together, which I think show quite clearly how the process has been successful to bring about very productive workflows. And finally, we'll wrap up with something that we've coined and we've seen work, how we can be agile in our collaboration to create new things. So starting off, as Ted mentioned, I was at CMU. I was Ted's research assistant on the research in accessible voting. And that was about 1.5 years that I was doing that. And I was a programmer before I came to CMU. I was focused on learning languages and, doing things as prescribed in education. But what I got here during my time at CMU was I had to build something from ideas that Ted had or that was there in the research lab that other students were doing. I had to quickly adapt and adopt new technologies so that I could show something at a fast pace. I was building prototypes every other week almost and trying to show off a little bit of showing off that I am capable because I come from a different background. There was a bit of that, but I did enjoy bringing ideas to life. Things that I did to be able to do that is look at tools that are up and coming, not just tools that everyone's used to using. See if I could get something demoable and in front of people using, let's say, something simple. Like I had a Java background, but I was learning JavaScript and putting something up on a web page seemed to be faster. So a lot of the ideas, I tried to put it up there first. I had to learn and put it up there first. And also not build everything from scratch. If I could find solutions or tools that could help me do this faster, I would look them up. And this required staying up to date with what's out there, what are people doing. I'll let Ted talk a bit about the voting project and the different kinds of prototypes that I made.
Sure. So we started, and making these things work in the browser was a good idea because that's a way for people to try them. The Elections Assistance Commission, the Federal Elections Assistance Commission, I had a contract to try to make things to help people with disabilities, and I tried all sorts of things. And what was really true is that some of these things started with a student project. Some of them started before Shama came along, and some of them she started from scratch. And JavaScript was our friend. And what was really fun is to watch her ramp up as the project went forward, continually, getting much more agile and quick with it. But really, the process that we followed follows the way kind of I like to work, which is you audition solutions. You audition them by prototyping them. And so, you'll look in here, and on the bottom left, you'll see there's some strange fisheye view approaches to making people aware of all of the races so that they don't miss some of the races in a voting experience. And the left one and the one next to it, they're actually two examples of the same thing. Up above, that purple thing, that's a scrim that goes over any web page. So we had to make that work on the whole web as an extension. So that's a very different approach than having an application. The keyboard, those arrow keys, those work with audio, a completely different modality to teach people how to fill in write-ins. It turns out no one can succeed with a lot of the old technology that is given to them for write-ins with audio, and we were able to get people to do it to do a write-in in under 2 minutes. That seems long, but it was a big achievement. Below, you see us exploring how to set up and manage a polling place. Those are the paths through the polling place. You see those green arrows, and that's the interactive tool for creating a layout for a polling place. Very different kind of interface again. And on the right, there's another example of that. There were other projects, but what's fun is the diversity of activities that we were able to play with, and then the need to demonstrate those to the Election Assistance Commission, to other voting technologists, and to the election officials themselves. So what really, I think what this gave, I hope, a start for us is this idea of working on multiple projects, focusing on how they're going to be accepted and be worked with other people. All of these had evaluation involved. I think this is kind of the basic beginning of our collaboration. Do you want to go to the next slide?
Like before moving to the next, I guess one thing to add here, when I was working on this project, I was sort of exposed to a different way of adding value through my work. Like before working on, let's say, the writing with the audio, my idea of software development was building interfaces, like visual interfaces. But doing the audio writing was like, this work could immediately help someone achieve something. That gave me insight into how, how I should be picking my work that lets me see impact immediately, or even if it's not a big impact, it's adding value to someone's life. So
The word meaningful comes to mind.
yes. So this also taught me to pick projects that matter. So from that line of thought, like how I see meaningful work, how it's also played a role in picking projects. Like another project that I worked on with TED was this considered conference calling, which was, again, from, I think, your students working on this, their research results that would help people communicate. When we were working on this, again, this would help people improve their communication when they're in meetings and conferences. It was a way that it was a use case where adding this work would add value to those people, immediately addressing problems. And this project was also very different from the voting projects that we did. We had to explore, I had only one more person. At this point, I didn't have a whole team, the way I think I showed in the initial picture, but it required, since it was a video conferencing tool, it required understanding WebRTC, then also because this had features that I'll let Ted go into deeper a bit, but exploring signal processing to detect noise in your background. It required, I realized that me alone trying to explore all these different technologies wasn't really productive or ideal. It would be beneficial to have other people share this need to create value in the world and learn these technologies. So that's a little bit of where this project helped in that, but I want Ted to sort of go into a bit about this project because it played a very big role.
So there was, about 5 papers and a PhD thesis about this, where we found that with feedback and a little bit of knowledge representation, AI, we were able to get people to stop being over dominating, to take turns when they were communicating, to be aware of what their contributions were, and also to recognize when they were putting noise on the signal, which was causing trouble for others. Each of the things I just described, we had results showing that we could make more productive meetings. So that was fun. And then trying to say that, okay, we're going to take that out of the research lab and put it into real life. What was really, this was our inaugural experience where Shama was in Bangladesh and as a consultant, and really trying to take, real commercial productization goals for the thing, and translating all of the things we did. And one of the fun things, again, was at some point I wanted to put some serious AI behind recognizing what to do with some even sentiment analysis and other things in this. And so I'd have students, some from Korea actually, working with us on some of the other techniques that were required. And then that was also.
They were working with you. They were in Korea while they were working with you?
Well, some of them were in Korea. Some of them were actually in San Jose visiting. And the point is that this kind of was part of the whole Shama building relationships with technologists that have a collaborative experience that isn't in a room, isn't in Silicon Valley, isn't in one place, but so we're grabbing services from everywhere and we're grabbing people from everywhere and building a culture of collaboration. So that's and the main thing about the meaningful work here is, again, we believe this is going to help people in some way. That's not, it's not as deeply integrated into every project that happens with Techdojo and me, but it's definitely, we don't want to be destroying or killing, that's for sure. So that's
For me, meaningful work also, it's tech that we work on has to be exciting for me. So I look for that as well. And working with people, clients who would value the work and is excited by what they're building, that also matters. I think it falls into the definition of meaningful work for me.
So I want to say a little word about that. One of the things I think is really powerful in Shama's statement is that she gets a lot of joy out of learning new tools and meeting and working with people that care about her work, and that is an energy as a place to get energy, makes the work quicker. This particular prototype took about 6 weeks to get a working crappy prototype. Within 3 months, we were having a lot of other people using it. So that's the pace at which these things happen. To make a video conferencing system in that amount of time was shocking to me that it could actually be done.
It's still running for all this time. So yeah, and I wanted to take all of these experiences and have a team that would be able to do the work, same kind of work. So this led to not just doing things by myself or like a group of two, but building a company. That's what I ended up doing in the following years. So when I started out, I tried to do it the way that everyone else does it. We do have a tech industry back home. There are software companies, but the kind of work they do is, make defined websites, defined ERP applications. And that's when a new software company comes up, that's also what they end up doing, which was a little different from the way I was approaching it. But I tried to follow, I wanted people. So I put up job posts, and the kind of hires that we got, they were good, but they had an expectation of how things are run in the regular software companies where your job is defined, you're using the same technologies for years. Like if you're a PHP developer, then you end up developing in PHP for the rest of your career. That's not the way that I worked or I wanted to work. So what I ended up doing after trying to teach the people we were hiring to be open to new technology, I ended up actually going and becoming a lecturer at a university, find CS computer science undergrads, and then teach them web development with using the up and coming technologies. I did that for a few years on and off, and it was very successful, I would say, because a lot of the team members that I have now are students that I taught almost 5 years ago, and they stayed on. And beyond, even with the teaching materials, there's a lot of resources online. Let's say if we take JavaScript, there are frameworks coming up every other week or every other day. And there are plenty of resources, but it can be hard to get lost. The kind of resource that I know would have been helpful for me is having real examples of using these frameworks and using and building out real projects. So I ended up writing these 2 books, 2 editions, to be able to do, and Ted has a copy. I don't know what he likes props. So,
It's a
big fat book.
But it's a blunt object. Could be
So I ended
dangerous.
up writing that with examples, and it was received well. I still get emails from people who are trying out the same code even after it's been a few years now. And I use this in my teaching, also in training. If anyone was interested in learning from a company, I've used this material. Beyond that, to change people's view of how to work in a technology company, there was a lot of mentoring involved. People back home have a different set of aspirations. That needed to be, there was a lot of molding happening there as well. And while it wasn't just teaching, it was also accommodating how they wanted to see themselves in their career. So instead of giving them defined tasks, it was a lot of giving them tools and resources to learn and grow. Also, I said I picked projects that are meaningful, but it was also about picking projects that will help them to learn exciting new tech, that will get them excited about learning new tech. So diverse set of projects that have a real impact in the world, putting them in the middle of those, giving them the resources to experiment and learn the new tech, also letting them make mistakes. It's probably true here too, but the stigma of like making mistakes, breaking things is just too strong. It takes, you have to repeatedly make them comfortable in the notion of, okay, make mistakes, break things, then we fix them. That's okay. Have weird ideas. It's been, every time I get a new group of people, we have to go through that cycle, make them comfortable to make mistakes.
But not even that. It's also when a new project. So several times in the last few years, we've taken on projects where there was no expertise in the company even. And sometimes when we're talking about machine learning or even simpler kinds of representational AI, I'd get on the phone and lecture for a while, but also, she would give her people 2-3 weeks, a month, just to learn about it and to do the scholarship that builds the confidence and the tools. And often this is critical because, quite frankly, the tools that we are using now didn't exist when she was in school. In fact, the tools we're using now didn't exist in many cases 2 years ago. And so in every case, I think that we are in a place where the fun part is that teaching, making a company around the idea of scholarship, of the kind of scholarship that scientists think about. Build understanding what can be done, what can't be done, what has been done, what hasn't been done, and recognizing where you can fit in that envelope. And scoping. I mean, scoping is another big piece of it. Is when I'm talking to Shama all the time, we end up, I say, well, this seems like this could be what do you think, a 3-week project? She says, no, I can do it this week. But or whatever it is, we talk about the scoping all the time. It's a big piece of the conversation.
And within that scoping, even if I say it's can be done in 1 week, if there's something new to learn here, I am considering that time that my team will need to get acquainted with new tech. That is a part of that timing that I'm thinking of, that scoping that I'm thinking of.
And by the way, what's shocking to me is the application we're going to see in a moment. There's over 15 services that are involved in it. Each of those had to be learned and understood how to make the APIs to and figure out from scratch, because most of those were companies that didn't exist 3 years ago. And so that's really become a big piece of technology creation.
So beyond teaching at universities, making my own content to teach from, and creating an environment where my team, the people that are coming onto my team, can learn. Another thing that I ended up doing to sort of have access to people who could do good work was mentoring or advising other companies back home. Though most of the companies were working a certain way, there are companies that are trying to be more innovative. And I do end up working with them where I advise their teams. A lot of these teams did end up having students that I taught at some point, and they reached out. So the way I do more than advising is if they have a capable workforce, a software team that's working on products, and they have, if there's scope for it, I encourage them to sort of share the workforce with me. Like if I have projects and I don't have the necessary skill set on my current team, on the teams that I'm advising, if there are people who have less work or they want to upskill and they want to learn something new, these other companies sort of let me use their engineers on projects that I'm working on. And likewise, if I have people who are, let's say, finished up a project and they're ready to learn something new, and I see they're working on something that could use that talent, that exchange, I've seen it's been very productive. Instead of having people sit around, these are all young, the team, because they're coming out fresh out of universities, or even if they're not fresh out of universities, they've been working for a couple of years in the same tech. Learning something new is good for everyone. So that has also been a successful approach to expanding the team and finding good people back home.
And just to put a dot on that, one of the things that seems to happen is, I mean, Shama's team has got involved with educational technology in Bangladesh and even medical technology in Bangladesh. So it's quite broad, and she gets involved, wherever she can help another technology team, and it's been quite productive and fruitful, especially because the budgets come and go, and sometimes she's had to save people's ability to continue working together. Go ahead.
So talked about how building these teams has worked out, but the process that we have in place for working on projects to be able to deliver, to also bring change to the way we work, to sort of give you exposure to that. I talk about one of the big projects that even Ted was part of, and we've been working on it for the last couple of years. And to do an intro, I think, Ted, if you do an intro, two-line intro of what this project was.
So the idea from Julian Guthrie, the CEO who had gotten funding, was to inspire people and allow them, women especially in her case, and give them ways to give messages with each other and to build a community together. So this was the goal. And at the beginning, the idea of delivering them material that they would look at and use was central. And there was this little aspect that I was interested in, which was while they're doing their normal work. And you'll see that kind of evolve as what we could do while they're doing the work. And what you're going to see when you see this video, there's a bunch of collage, and all that collage is that's videos of each of the features we were adding. So over a period of 1.5 years on this project, on this Alfie, we added probably, I don't know, there's probably 20 different features, each of them a code base, had to be integrated into the system to try to make a coherent platform. And it's just kind of, you can laugh, you can cry, you can congratulate us, but watching this video gives you a sense of the complexity and our efforts to make something coherent.
Imagine a social media platform designed to inspire personal growth and self-improvement. The application was developed for both iOS and Android platforms using React Native, with the backend implemented using Node.js and hosted on Heroku. MongoDB and Firebase were integrated as part of the backend infrastructure. On this app, you can view inspirational content, create your own posts featuring photos or videos, and invite others to engage in meaningful discussions. It boasts an innovative scrolling experience, ensuring a captivating user interface. The content a user sees here is tailor-made, with a recommendation engine that ensures the content continuously adjusts and refreshes in response to the user's interactions across the app. The recommendation rule engine uses collaborative filtering and short-term memory algorithm. Users can also participate in live events or live-streamed conferences from other services like Zoom into the app. Live events powered by Comma Chat and a custom hand raise functionality enables active interaction during these events. The live streaming feature includes a unique function that enables you to attribute a trait to the host, such as optimistic, brave, ambitious, and kind. In addition, the app offers a tracker feature, which provides valuable lessons to tackle life's challenges and measure progress through a visible bar. Completing quizzes unlocks rewards, adding an element of gamification to the platform. For a fun twist, there's a game where you must identify inspiring individuals based on their contributions and achievements from a blurred image that gets clear as you play the game. The rapid development of features for this application was achieved through a combination of trial runs, client meetings, and responsiveness to market demands. The key factor enabling us to create the app within a short time frame was the high level of motivation and dedication exhibited by our team.
That was all done with 6 developers.
Just thick.
That's a lot of, yeah. You saw there's a lot there.
So 1.5 years, about 6 developers. The team size never really was more than 6. There were people were coming and going in the 1.5 years. But yeah, these features, these relied on like up to I think, around 15 services. So it was about learning how to integrate all of them as needed. Like we had an event hosting thing. We weren't going to build a whole video conferencing system from scratch within that time period. So we had to use a service like Comet Chat and be able to customize it. That meant working with the company Comet Chat, talking to their people, making sure they were giving us what we needed.
More than that, also helping them develop their.
They're also
system.
startup,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, so there was often a situation where Shama would be giving them bug reports and suggestions for how to make their tools better too.
But having tools like that and even services and teams like that helped us build all these features in a short time. The way we did it was we would try out these different service options and see which one would work for us, then integrate that, evaluate, refine, and then once it worked together, when we put it out in front of people, we'd probably find more issues and fix that. And it was the development of the whole thing was we were doing weekly progress demos in front of Julian, in front of Ted, and the rest of the team, then making an update and doing bi-weekly product drops. And
What's the time difference between here and
14 hours?
14 hours? So is that an issue? Like
Well, so basically when he's laughing because there were a lot of meetings where I was up late. That was I think a
The
continuous
meetings were
theme
supposed to end at midnight, but they often ended at 2 a.m. her
for
time.
me.
And I would be, we'd have fights about that because I was like, we got to let Shama get a sleep or she's going to get a migraine, which periodically would happen.
But what that allowed, like having this 14-hour time difference was while you gave us the bug reports, while you were sleeping, my team was working on the bugs. So we were sort of utilizing.
It was great. We'd wake up in the morning and everything would be fixed.
Problems been solved while you were sleeping.
Yeah, so we
Typically, very common.
We have another question.
Yeah, so was your team also doing the discovery of what you needed to build? Like the design?
That's a complicated question. There was me as a creative, Julian, the CEO, had vision and acquired, we were working on her project. And then we had a designer who lives in Calgary. And by the way, and our operations person that did a lot of the data entry is in San Diego. So we were about as distributed as you can be. We had nobody in
To
Europe.
answer
right?
your question, I think the initial ideas and the designs, they would come to us, but then because we're making updates every week, let's say, a lot of the features and how it would work was in that discovery. Like what they were seeing, it didn't match what they were expecting, and the users were also treating it differently. So it was continuous, discovery and growth, and the product grew and the features got added based on that.
So does your an organization have the typical, the software company, there would be like a product role, there would be a.
So it's a team of 6 people, right?
Okay.
So a lot of it is what we usually do is have people work in pairs, but having the flexibility to move from role to role. That is
happened
very
all the time.
key. Yeah.
And so we'd find somebody who was working out really well for example, I don't know, I think of Anand, she loved grabbing new technologies. And so getting up to speed with AWS, which was we went through several phases of using AWS, getting up to speed with using BERT and then OpenAI, all of those steps, who do you choose to take on this new challenge? And you grab somebody that's, that's going to be good at it, but also people that are available. So but more than that, we really were trying, I don't know, I shouldn't speak for you, but I think to grow all of these people.
Yeah, and a way of doing that, even I applied to other projects as well, is seeing who hasn't touched on a new technology, whereas the others are working on it and building out a project, and I shift them over. If I see that what they were working on is almost done and there's scope for moving that person, so that they sit with the people working on this and, pair program.
I'm going to speak out of school for just a moment and point out that what she requires more than almost anything in her people, in my experience, is that they are collaborative. And when somebody becomes too dominant, they become or insistent on their approach, she'll take them aside, and that becomes a central issue. And sometimes that's the issue that ends up being the reason that they can't continue if they aren't going to be collaborative enough. And that's part of the way that's not the way you want to change your personnel, but her goals are and there's always everyone gets many chances to succeed. It's not a like all of a sudden one day they wake up and are fired.
I would imagine that it would be a cultural challenge for you too, because belonging to that part of the world, I know how you respect the hierarchy and your seniors and things like that. To be able to
That's one thing. Like at our company, we've tried to not have that hierarchical structure in the team. Since a lot of them were my students, and you're probably familiar with how teachers are treated back home.
Shama Miss.
Yeah, that you've heard that. I'm always referred to as Shama Miss. I sort of get that, but I try to keep the ideas shouldn't be stopped because you think I'm going to judge you. That is a constant thing that I have to be aware of when I'm dealing with my team. That they should be able to express their ideas, contradict my ideas, because I appreciate it. I make that appreciation very obvious. I try to. So it is addressing the cultural thing is a constant thing.
Are your meetings in English usually?
Meetings with
us,
yes.
But I want to make sure we get through the slides, so we're going to have time for more questions at the end too.
It's good. That means it's not going good. So yeah, as you saw, when we were filling out Alfie, we followed these techniques to make it happen. But then we decided to change things up even more. We built that app, but decided from the top up that we were going to pivot to an idea that was a part of the app, but now is going to become the main idea of the company. And it is from an idea from a research work that Ted has done in the past. So I would like you to sort of take us through the idea.
So the idea is while you're doing your work, this thing, we started off doing some research very long ago that found that getting visual feedback, emojis especially, happy, sad, surprised, angry, changed the way people type their email. And so we took it a next step and had it responding to people while they were trying to do text messaging. The point and problem is that electronic communication, in my view, people go much more dramatic. It's been a big problem with Facebook and lots of other, every single thing we've done. We've had flaming in emails, right? And people going bullying on text messaging. So when this thing gives people feedback and they have the sense of a person that they're going to speak to, it actually softens their communication. And so we took this to a next step, and it became part of a lot of research. But mainly, why don't we go to the next page? And when we started deciding to really get serious about it, we went through 4 different AI platforms during this project to get to where we were. We started off with regressions, and we used BERT, we tried to use, finally we got to OpenAI. But what you see there, we call that the sausage. And the sausage is there's 21 different emotional things. There's timid and confident and ageism and sexism and racism, and there's happy and sad and surprised. And we started off with those as separate fine-tuned learning, and then we had an ensemble. We had assembled with voting and deciding which one was more important. And oh my gosh, that's fine if you have 6 or 7 seconds. But also when we started going to ensemble learning, we were able to bring together them better. And finally, when we started putting in the same fine-tuned learning model, we were able to get not only faster response, but better accuracy. And the thing that I guess I'm just kind of trying to take us through is that this became, at first it was, me and one guy on his part-time. And by the time this project was getting really serious about this, this was the center of the technology development. And, what was surprising to me is platforms that you've heard of that are very famous, like Hugging Face, they'd go down for 36 hours. So we found ourselves building our own things for two reasons. One was we got more reliable. Secondly, we wanted to get the lag time down. But we were surprised that the available hate and emotions corpuses actually didn't suit our purposes. And we started off with one example, we have one-shot learning. Then we started, by the time you're done and you want to get some nuance into it, you've got, as people will tell you, hundreds of examples of these utterances and things, and it all goes into this tensor. Anyway, I'm only saying this not to go too deeply, but just to give you a feeling for the complexity, and to start with a group that had no AI background at all, to getting to the most sophisticated, modern, up to the minute techniques is what was really fun and really exciting for everybody.
That was, I think you already gave the example of Anan and putting her through AWS, but she also was a big part of this.
Oh, yeah, this person. And I mean, one of the smartest people I ever had in one of my research teams at IBM, Rob Barrett, I'll name him. He came to me when I started this and said, before he got involved with this, he said, I want to learn and start becoming, learning about AI. This is before chat, anything. And I had weekly meetings with him because he's somebody I love. And he got up to speed just at the time we really needed him. And then he became really central to building this with people on Shama's team, and really became a group effort, including knowledge acquisition experts, the language people. Julian, the CEO, she was a writer for the last 20 years. Another person in the team, a couple of other people in the team were writers for a living, and we used some of their work. The surprise.
Technical writers?
No.
Or they were
No,
fiction writers? Or
they were right. They were reporters. They would work for news
journalists?
And what was fascinating to me is the discovery in teaching them to be knowledge engineers of ideas like idea coverage, the nuances. For example, the idea that sorry to bother you is very different from sorry for your loss. So we started off, with the people that, didn't have this background, thinking that sorry as a keyword was a great discriminator of people diminishing themselves. And that was the drumbeat for a while until we started coming up with these examples. So, sorry for your loss is not a diminishing. It is empathetic. And you find that for all keyword kinds of things. And when you start off with keyword spotting, which everybody does, you find yourself in these terrible messes that linguists like you, Richard, have been thinking about you've been thinking about it for 50 years, 60
I'm
years?
not really a linguist.
Okay, you're a knowledge representation guy, but you dabble in language, I think,
I talk to people who know about language.
Yeah, I think you are underselling yourself. Anyway, I think we can go on. Just this.
So this pivot and getting acquainted with new tech also meant the team that was working on app development now had to figure out how to get this feature onto other platforms. So within months, the team had to learn how to integrate into existing platforms like Gmail, build Chrome extensions for Gmail, build an add-on for Gmail, and build an add-in for Outlook. We didn't just bring this feature to email like text. We also brought it to meetings, live meetings, real-time feedback as you're in a meeting. So the team had to figure out how to work with WebEx, for example, and work with real-time transcription.
Google Meet.
Yeah, and for like, I think I've shown three or five products here that Reflect was a part of, and the same team had to learn how to work with all these platforms and get these ready in a matter of months.
I mean, they all have different APIs. They all start with different languages. They all have different integration processes, including security with the people that you're working with. How do you build those relationships? How do you work? How do you get bugs fixed when their platform has problems? Because they all are quite fresh. I think all the things I'm saying.
This also involved like meetings with the workspace team at Google and back and forth with them, with Cisco. And this was all possible if I go back to how we were doing things when we were building the app, like choosing the services and being in touch with the people who are making these products. That all sort of followed through while we were working on these. This required us to interact with these teams that built Gmail, built the workspace add-on space, and is allowing embedded apps in WebEx. So we took all of that, and then we apply the same sort of way of working in other projects, and we are doing that for the next project as well. And I'd like Ted to sort of.
So I was working on a contract with Google to think about curated knowledge on the web and aggregated knowledge with OpenAI and generative AI. And in that process, I came to the point of realizing that a tool chain for letting people take customized knowledge bases, whether you're a drug company or selling cars, might be fun. And so we wanted to build out this tool chain for doing that. And at the same time, I was at dinner where somebody wanted to make a way of selling cars. And I said, well, what if we make some more interesting approach where we really thought about the lifestyle people are involved with as a way of choosing the cars and build a fine-tuned model using what you know about what cars are available from a dealership to drive the process. And so can you play that video again? So we built something called Moto Karma. Here you're selecting a lifestyle, then it's going to go find the cars. Now it is choosing the cars with the AI, and now it comes up with a bunch of different cars. And then you can ask anything you want about these cars. And what's really kind of fun in my demo, I can show it on this later on if you want, is I'll ask, there'll be a Kia and a Toyota. And I say, what's better about the Kia than the Toyota? And it'll say, well, the Kia has more horsepower and more space inside. It'll find reasons to promote any car you ask for against any other, and if that's the question you ask. And so we really built this thing out as an integration of the visual interface of using OpenAI and fine tuning it with these more private databases. And we are now, if you look on the right hand side, that is this company that Shama and I built called TransformerModelling. And what we do is we are able to very quickly make a proof of concept or MVP for anybody that brings us a bunch of knowledge that they want to integrate into a chat environment or an AI environment and make interfaces that will work across phones and web. So we'd be delighted to meet anybody that wants to do that. And it all depends on lang chain and vector databases. But the most interesting thing in my life about everything I make is, the UX and the scenario of creating it and making it work together always ends up being the center of the value that you end up with. And, in this case, it's absolutely true as well, all the way to go into visualization. But, one of the fun things about having a long-term relationship with Shama is, as you saw, it started off with us playing with user interfaces for voting. And we've always had some element of the user experience being central to the kinds of systems we're building.
Have you talked to Adam Chire about what he's been doing lately, because he gave a talk here where he used deciding what kind of car to buy as an example, and his
Okay.
system would go out to the web and amalgamate information from different sources and let you compare things that came from different sources, so they weren't meant to be used together, but he could figure out that.
So what I want to say about that is we have the CEO of the company, Motokarma, is a man named Jeremy Taunton, and he's secured the funding for this. And we are actually, following a direction where we are working very hard to engage with dealers, car resellers, and also even maybe with manufacturers. The point being that this is supposed to be as much a product oriented thing as a technology exploration. We'd love to talk with him.
Yeah,
But-
I'm sure he'd be
Yeah,
interested too.
the thing that we have to be careful of is, we're on a very pretty short leash. But the cool part is that on that short leash, we were able to develop, first of all, a scenario that the funder would have never imagined, and is delighted, and it's collaboratively been built. And using his expertise in car sales and ours in systems and in user experience, we are building something that I think is quite remarkable. And that's what people at places like CarMax are saying. So we're excited about this. But I think is there more to say about this? I think.
No, I think we tied back to how, again, it's a new set of tools that the team is getting up to speed with. And I think that should take us to the next part of the talk, where I think seeing how we've worked from the beginning and how we've been able to build things of a very diverse range, how that's been possible. And since you've coined this term, I would like you to sort of tie it together and
So why don't you go to the next slide for that? Okay, so this idea of agile collaborative creation, really what we've seen with Scrum, in my experience, and Agile, is while there's this lovely idea of paired programming, there's also this problem that people find themselves being given a pile of tasks that they have to get done before the next 2 weeks, and it becomes oppressive. And what we discovered, right, is that, it isn't the paired programming today can't be paired programming about randomly chosen people. We are working in very specific techniques and technologies. We're working with when you're working with 15 services, somebody has to know the service. One of your collaborators, the person that owns that service. When you're working with, knowledge engineering, and then somebody building the AI infrastructure, what we found so many times is the knowledge engineer and the designer of the AI infrastructure would have to work deeply together. And so the fine-grained dream and goal of a prototyper, of a paired programming, those have been part of my life all my life, and Shama's also. But I think it's much more important for people to be flexibly changing who they're working with, expecting contributions from both partners, expecting to sit for the hours it takes to get through the difficult problems, and really recognizing that when you start a project, let's call it Alfie, and you have to pivot at some point and several times, when you saw all those features in that big collage, that's because every week we'd meet and realize we weren't achieving our goal with the platform. We had to add something new. We had to think about a new way of going about it. So that becomes bringing the developer into that conversation was very confusing to a couple people on the team at the beginning who were very used to standard processes and project management. And they, after a while, couldn't believe the velocity that we were able to achieve, because by having the developers involved in the user interface decisions, we figured out what performances could be had with different approaches. We'd have the experiments, and we'd get back to them in ways that they never had before, where they'd get criticized by the developers, where the developers would have to understand deeply why parallax matters in the sliding. I don't know if you saw that sliding interface. And then what are the limits? Instead of saying it can't be done by the developer, at some point you say, okay, the cost of doing this, continuing on this, is stopping all development on everything else. Can we go with an intermediate? Can we go with something in between that's something that, compromise, and maybe get back to your big dream, Mr. Designer, later. And to do that, we are constantly exploring. I'm thinking about one of Shama's employees that I work with a lot, who spends, many hours a week reading actual articles, looking at other people's solutions, looking at people's services, and it's part of our whole process. So those processes of exploration are really not described in the classic Scrum Agile approach. And so we really believe that this constant exploration and evaluation is critical to building any application today, as we're crossing all sorts of, when it used to be libraries became important in the 2000s. Now it's not just libraries, it's services, it's other people doing, whether it's your payments, or even when you're doing your project management. We use fancy tools, Atlassian or whatever, to manage these projects. And so I think today's technology is created by diverse groups with scenarios and goals as the center, driving architectural explorations across techniques and services. So that little sentence, or whatever that is, the bottom on the left, is kind of my summarization of who we are as a team and how we do it. And what you see on the right, that video on the bottom, that's an avatar that is being built right now. That's emotional, gives emotional feedback, and very much, I would say, even though it's a completely new company for us to work with, the whole process has been all like all the other ones we have. Like, for example, we brought together 5 of the people, because Shama's not here very often, to talk just last week in my house. And, we had, a funder who's a technologist. We had somebody that deploys to 1 million people in China that's an educator that's also, has needs. And we had another programmer. So bringing these people together, it was I thought, a very fruitful conversation about so many aspects of what it takes to make that a reality. So I don't know if that's, do you want to add to this somehow?
No, so we've been applying these approaches to other projects as well, and getting the consistent velocity that we showed in this projects, and it felt like it was time to sort of put that in writing somehow, or be able to describe it, because it has been successful so far.
And it's developing so far. Mm-hmm. And basically, we have that what you wonder what that is on the bottom. That's some of the videos you can get by going to tech-dojo.org. And looking at some of the projects that Shama's been working on. And we believe that there are these 5 central things that we wanted to talk about today. And I think at that, we'll open it up for questions.
Sometimes Techdojo does not have a hyphen.
Well, in the website it does.
Is it a .org? Is it a non-profit organization?
No, it's not. Because .com wasn't available.
Yeah. It's a sustaining organization. I don't know if profitability is the only focus, but it's got to happen for it to continue.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that you're building some of these AI systems with people who are very young and may not have experience in AI. So how do you communicate the intuition that goes behind the design of AI systems, right? Because, you could look at LLMs and you might think that, they know everything, but we know that they don't. Because you have to really understand the limitations of these algorithms to build them.
So I'll speak a little bit to this. When anybody's going to start working on AI, I get out my old slides. I taught AI at Stanford for a couple of years, and I say, AI is knowledge is representation learning and reasoning, I really go back and say, hey, it's all about framing problems. It's about, and that's what we call that representation. If you don't frame a problem, you will never solve it. And it's all an experiment. And I go through, talking about that. If you start by saying AI is machine learning, I don't think you can get there, quite frankly. I believe you have to understand why machine learning has become successful and how to make it successful. And it really, because 95%, as people say, of AI is training it. And understanding how to train it, you must understand representation. And what is learning is a complicated thing because you can unlearn as fast as you can learn. And noise is a big, dangerous mess. And what is your feedback loop for learning? Because learning, it has to have some direction. And so, sure, we can jump in and say, hey, the LLM knows everything, and we can just ask it a question. Yeah, you're going to have the same problems we had with the pre-trained things. And you really have to understand, even prompt creation is a huge, important thing. But I don't know. I don't want to steal your thunder, but just to say that what we Shama's always done is let people have a little bit of rope, give them a little bit of direction, and expect them to explore an area as they're going to try to be productive in a few weeks.
And also like bringing in the necessary expertise and giving them the resources to do that. As I mentioned, like collaborating with other companies, and they might have someone in their team that has the knowledge that my team doesn't have right now. Bringing that in, that kind of conscious decisions also play a role.
And I guess I want to add that, Shama has an unusual amount of courage for trying things that she doesn't know that she hasn't done before. And I think that's what she's trying to instill in others. And I think it's a magic weapon, actually.
So I have a couple questions about Reflect AI. So first, I think it's interesting because it's a product out there that I feel like the more successful it is, the less it will get used, right? So it's an opportunity to sort of train people to not do the thing you're trying to prevent them from doing. But do you have information on that? Like, does it change how people interact with each other so they start avoiding the problematic areas? And two, do you know if it's does it help overall communication to improve? Is that something that you were able to look at?
This is a really, really important set of questions. First of all, my university degree helps me more and more, and it was long ago. So that's what I hope. I actually hope it puts itself out of business. I'm not sure that everybody on the team felt that way. The questions of efficacy are critical to any product. And one of the dangers about a startup is that they have a hard time believing or trusting that evaluation is important. And just to give you an example that's really, really old, this pointing device that I invented for the ThinkPad, all of its success had to do with evaluation. My initial ideas were wrong about what would work. And even there was a whole literature that had gotten so frustrated with making pointing devices and then seeing if they worked, that there was a paper the year when I figured out how to make an algorithm that would make it more effective that said that no algorithm but a linear could ever be helpful. And that was written by the top person, HCI. So we can go in directions where we believe we're going towards something fabulous and think we're going towards it, but without evaluation, we don't know about efficacy. And the question of business model in terms of it working itself out of a job, that's a business model creation situation, and there's always people that need to learn. So I think those are really important questions. And with Reflect, quite frankly, those are the things that I really would love to spend much more time on.
I guess as a corollary, you could look at spell check as the same way. Eventually you learn how to spell the words, but I mean, I feel like I certainly keep getting.
You do and you
ready for some of
don't.
this
What's
stuff.
really bad about maps is we've forgotten our sense of spatial orientation. So when is it a crutch,
Yeah.
and when it is a teacher? And I really believe, so when I teach agent course, I talk about assistive agents that do things for you, and you get stupider and smarter and easier. Everything's, you delegate, versus advisory ones, where they teach you. And that difference is a huge difference. And, my first work in this area was a training system for teaching Lisp, where basically with a training system, not with a thing that where you had to do the work, we were able to get people to do 5 times more exercises in the same amount of time when they were encouraged and prodded along instead of given the answer. So I believe strongly in the need for teaching people to fish instead of giving people fish. And that's a complicated, very exciting area you brought up.
Do we have any questions from from remote participants?
Do you have a question? Is everybody here anymore?
Yeah, we still have some people online. So. Great. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. And we encourage people to think about friends of yours that have interesting technical projects that want to have solutions in weeks, not years, and we look forward to having doing meaningful work that has some continuity. So we aren't just doing, we won't be taking on projects that last a week or 3 weeks, but we want to have relationships that allow us to learn and grow and make things that matter.
Well, thank you.
So I can volunteer a plug here. So I'm actually building a kind of a one buffet in a box type of AI that would predict next quarter earnings. And we are looking at Shama and her team as the front end and the presentation and the everything about the product except for the financial product.
So he's a potential customer, and this is a real customer. This man's been paying to get his app up, and you can learn about being a patent agent using his system in a couple of weeks as soon as we get the meeting after this meeting to get it up on
The post-meeting meeting.
the post-meeting meeting. So maybe we have 2 customers in the audience.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. One potential customer. See if we'll see where that turns.
Well, if it's 2, then it's viral and you'll keep getting exponential.
And you are from where?
So I am actually part of the Palo Alto Research Center contingent, and I don't know if you heard, but we joined SRI earlier.
We did hear, and you came over from Park today?
Actually, I work out of Seattle, but I'm just visiting the Bay Area. So I'm here, I'm part of the Intelligent Systems Lab, and I was very excited to be here just because the human-centeredness of a lot of technology is what's inspiring to me and is also inspiring the kind of research I want to do. So I totally understand the motivation to go after meaningful.
Hey, can we go around and give names? Just
Yeah.
So why don't you speak?
Oh, I'm Deborah Banerjee.
I'm Shivali Mohan.
Hi, I'm Kim Rubin.
I don't know who I am.
I'm Richard Waldinger.
I'm Aaron Spalding.
Yeah, I'm Victor Miller. Hi, Ted. It's good to see you after all these years. I was in Ted's group at IBM and one of the guinea pigs of his pointing stick.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, and thank you for that when you did that back then.
Yeah, a long
Are there
time.
more names from the screen? Anyone else?
No,
Okay.
All right.
Okay, well,
Thank you very much.
I want that book.
Oh, yeah.